All right, guys, so we're gonna test out something pretty dang crazy. Do you see that thing in back of me? That is a bead launcher, or a bead, what is it, a tire bead air compression cannon. And basically we're gonna use this to measure how barrel length affects the time that a ball or a projectile is launched into the air. So this is really, really cool. We're gonna be using about 20 PSI. So we're gonna have a constant variable right there. But yeah, let's get right to it. So essentially what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be hooking up an air pressure tank. This is like a 50-foot hose. It's connected to an air pressure tank, and we're gonna be hooking it up right here, putting a constant pressure of 20 PSI. And we're gonna be getting this barrel right over here, and we're gonna be cutting it about 2 feet down each time to see how it affects the amount of time the projectile is in the air. Okay, so now we have about 20 PSI in here. Let's get that out. And we're gonna get this projectile. This is a Nerf bullet. I'm using someone that I know from church. I'm using their backyard, so this is great. But we're gonna put this thing into this cannon, and then we're gonna measure it. Okay, so we got 20 PSI in the tank. This is the trigger right here. This is the barrel. This is 8.5 feet long, or tall, long, whatever. We'll just say it like that. Well, watch this, guys. This is gonna be crazy. 3, 2, 1. Oh my gosh, where'd it go? Oh, I can hear it, and that's it. That's crazy. Okay, so I went to go grab this thing. This thing was up in the air for 10.5 seconds, basically. That is insane. That is so crazy. Okay, so now we're gonna cut this piece of PVC pipe, and we're gonna cut it about a foot down. We'll go about a foot. So we'll get to 7.5 feet, and we'll see how that affects the time that this thing is up in the air. Okay, we shorten it down. Let's do this. Holy cow, that was insanely hard to cut that. Okay, that was crazy. Okay, let's do this. Watch this, guys. Holy cow, that thing went so high. Where'd it go? Oh, I see it. I see it. It's right there. It's right there. I think I'm following it. Boom, baby. Oh, those horses are probably freaking out. Okay, so as we're looking for this ball, all right, we're gonna talk about pneumatic cannons and how they work. So basically, we're filling that thing up with pressurized air using another air tank, right? And making that go up to 20 PSI, we have a chamber that's filled with tons of air, okay? And basically when you pull that trigger, it just releases a valve and it just goes, and all of a sudden the air basically evacuates the system, okay? It's dipping out, it's going, it wants to leave, because out here, there's not as much air as there is in there, you know? Being like pressure per square inch, right? Per square inch, that's PSI. We're gonna have more pressurized air within that area. All right, so essentially, we went from 10.34 seconds to about, whatchamacallit, 9.81 seconds. That is insane. That is almost like a half a second difference. Actually, I think that's legit. That is like a half a second difference. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna see how drastic of a difference this changes as we go about, let's go about another 2 feet. We'll do another 2 feet real quick. By the way, the equipment I'm using is that, a Sawzall to cut this, got the tape measure, of course, and then my thigh to help it out. So this is gonna be good. Let's do this real quick. Let's get it cut, and yeah, for science. Look at that beauty. That is so good. That is 2 feet right there. It might be at an angle. I'm not the best sawyer. Okay, I didn't blow up with tools, but hot dang, this looks good. Go like that. Good to go. Now I'm just gonna cut that in, and then let's get this thing rolling. So let's do this. Let's launch this thing. We're at 20 PSI, 4.5 feet. This is gonna be crazy, dude. This is kind of like sketchy having this like right next to my face. Okay, let's do this. Okay, hand is on the trigger. 3, 2, 1. Oh my gosh, that went in back of me. I wonder where that's gonna hit. Okay, you guys are still with me. 3, 2, 1. Bam! Okay, that was like actually about 9 seconds as well. That's interesting. Okay, so I did the data. It actually went about 9.83 seconds. So it was a little bit crazier, like just a little bit farther. So that's interesting. I wonder if I miscalculated a little bit before, because if this is correct, okay, that first one was supposed to have that first barrel length, which was 8.5 feet, was supposed to be, you know, the largest, and then the second one was supposed to be a little bit less, you know, so we had 9.81 seconds, and this one's 9.83, so that's kind of weird. But either way, it definitely is staying in an area of being at 9.8 something seconds. So I wonder if we kind of hit somewhat of a plateau in our data. But we're gonna cut this one more time. I wasn't going to, but now we are. And this is gonna be legit. Let's see how far, how high this thing goes, or how much time it's in the air. This will be super quick. 2.5 feet. Okay, I'm kind of holding my phone in an awkward position. But look at this barrel. This is like nothing, okay? When we were beginning this entire project, this thing was 8.5 feet. Now it's at 2.5, 3 feet. My expectation, my hypothesis, is that this thing is going to only go probably for about 9 seconds. But after this, we're doing a Hail Mary, okay? And it's gonna be wild. All right, so we got the trigger right over there. Of course, this is such a short barrel. My head is literally like right up to here, okay? That's probably about like a foot. That's insane. But let's see how this goes. So we're at 12 seconds on this clock. 2, 1, boom. Okay, so we got about 9.5 seconds. So now we're going down pretty good. Okay guys, we are 6 times the amount of PSI that we did on this thing before. So you know how it was going like 9.5 seconds in the air? According to the person that owns this thing and has played with it quite a bit, this thing is going to launch possibly, what was it, like 1,500 to 2,000 feet in the air. So let's try this out, guys. This is gonna be crazy. Okay, 3, 2, 1. That thing's dead. Guys, we gotta go save our buddy. This is crazy. What the heck just happened? So it went into 2 pieces and it was like super close, okay? Oh shoot. This poor guy. Oh my gosh. What happened to you? Where's your buddy? Oh my gosh, he's like not even that far. Okay. Well, I owe him a new football. Now I do. Gosh dang it. Oh yeah, I'm bleeding. That's crazy. All right, so what did we learn while we were out on the field? Let me tell you, first off, physics is absolutely fantastic. And not only that, but the longer the barrel length of a gun or something like that we were using, which was a pneumatic cannon, the longer the barrel length, the farther a projectile can go. And I did some more research on this, and there's actually kind of a sweet spot that we can possibly get to depending on the cannon and the diameter of the barrel. But anyways, with this cannon, it was absolutely fantastic to be able to see that as we went, as we cut down the barrel to get shorter and shorter, it didn't go as far. The projectile didn't go as far. And not only that, but there's actually a reason behind this. We put a lot of pressure near at the end, correct? We had a lot of gas that was actually within that cannon. And in turn, it actually shot the projectile out way too fast, okay, and actually blew it apart. But if you could see, I think you could see it near at the end, there's a little bit of gas that was coming out. And what that means is that there's expanding gas. And so what it does is that when you have a longer barrel, it allows that expanding gas to continue to propel that projectile out of the cannon. So it gives it a longer time to be able to push it out. And like we said before, you know, the longer, like if it's a super long barrel, if it's too long, it'll actually diminish its ability, that gas will diminish its ability to actually push that projectile as far as it can and actually create friction within the barrel, thus not allowing that projectile to hit that maximum speed that it can go. All right, now I have a hat on and I have a shirt on. Well, guess what? It's a different day because we're doing this. But I want to go over something really quick about this project and the math behind it. This is actually really interesting, and we're gonna be focusing specifically on work and force. So I have this information right here. We're gonna assume this projectile for this equation, okay, is going to be the mass of 1 kilogram. I would agree with that 100%. But we have the equation, you know, work equals force times distance. We're gonna assume that the distance is the barrel of the gun, and we're actually going to know the force equation, which is going to be force times velocity squared, the initial velocity squared, divided by 2 times the distance. Okay, this is really, really big because we're going to be using the kinetic energy equation. But anyways, we have a barrel length of 8.5 feet. Not only that, but it's going to be 2.59 meters. What we were able to get from that is that the kinetic energy or work for this sense is 2,563 joules, and the force is 990 newtons. So that is actually really, really interesting, because as we continue to go down from 8.5 to 6.5, 4.5, and 2.5 feet, all those feet distances, right? We actually see that the work goes down, and you can see it right here, the math that I actually am kind of reading off of right now. Because at the end, once we get to 2.5 feet, we have 2,841 newtons. So it's really interesting because it's like when we have the shorter barrel, the force is going to go up. We need more force in order to get that out of the barrel. But when we have a longer barrel, it requires less force, which thus means that we have more work. So it's really, really cool. But the thing is about this project, and something that I actually regret, is I wish I did more experiments on this, meaning that if I have an 8.5 foot barrel, I wish I did like 5 more launches, and that goes for each one of those barrel lengths. So in the next project that I'm going to be doing, which will definitely be with this thing as well, once I can afford to buy one, I'm going to do that because I think it's really interesting, because I want to see if I can really find and hone in on that sweet spot. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this, and we'll see y'all later.